Really, we wound up owning the ranch kind of by accident. Before the 2008, which some of us can remember as being not such a good year investment-wise, if you were in the equities, we essentially didn't have anything except everything was in an investment, equities investments primarily. And not long before that, Cindy had lost her parents, and she said, you know, we're not grounded anywhere, so we need...
And we were living overseas,
Yeah.
and we were kind of losing all of our roots to the United States, we felt like. So we thought, this piece of property came up for sale in an area where we knew, we enjoyed. And so we decided to buy it, but really more as an investment, not because we decided we were going into ranching, right?
That's right.
So,
And it was a friend of ours who lived not far from there, and he said, this piece of property is coming up, and I think it will be a good deal because it's not on the market yet, so you could do a private transaction probably. So we often laugh and say that every real estate investment we've ever made has been on the internet.
yeah, so we'd never actually seen it.
Which we would advise
We saw
people not to
pictures.
do normally. But anyhow, we had people looking at it. He sent photos and all this sort of stuff. And we wound up buying that piece of property. And as we typically do when we bought that piece of property, if possible, we got a right of first refusal on adjoining property. And as some of the property has come up for sale, then we have expanded from that original around 200 acres to 850 acres now.
1,850.
What did I say?
I thought you said 850.
Oh,
but anyway.
1,850.
Little under
so
2,000.
and the primary thing is, you know, we've lived in London, which is one of the major metropolitan cities of the world, for 22 years. Neither one of us, I worked on the ranch growing up, but neither one of us had ever been into ranching. But we have, as we've migrated back to the U.S., we spend more time there, and we really enjoy the lifestyle and enjoy the ranch itself. The name of the ranch is High Seas, a C apostrophe S. The C comes from Cindy Cagle, the surname Cagle. The son's name's Chris, wife's name's Cindy. Also the fact that we spent the better part of 3 years on the high seas, literally the high seas, sailing around the world. The boat made it around the world. We skipped the Indian Ocean.
We sailed the Pacific, and we sailed across the Atlantic, and
right
through island chains, all sorts of island chains in between.
And the ranch, as Cindy had mentioned earlier, actually once was an ancient seabed. It was all under the sea, so that's why we find the marine fossils on there. So that's where the sea comes from. High, because it is now above the sea level. And, you know, John Denver's saying of Rocky Mountain High, I guess. Well, we're not Rocky Mountain High, but as we mentioned a bit
Texas
earlier,
Hill Country High.
Texas Hill Country, and some of the highest elevations in Texas Hill Country are on the ranch. So that's basically, and we're not, one of the things I think some of the kids may have talked about, what other name, we like the name, so we want to
we're not searching for a name.
Yeah.
We're sold on the name. The name is our name.
Right.
So.
We're stuck there. Primarily what we're involved in is perpetual building and improving. So the land we bought basically had not been cared for, and it was covered with cedar. Cedar is an invasive plant. It takes about 30 gallons of water a day in a place where there is not a lot of excess water. So one of the first things you need to do is clear. One of the second things you need to do is build fences. Before you then put things in pasture, you got to have water for everything. But we're primarily involved now in improving the property. Primarily, we raise longhorns. Now, we're not trying to be Red McCombs, whom I'm not sure people might know the name, but he's basically one of the Boone Pickens for University of Texas. And the difference is he's still with us. But he raises longhorns, and he has like thousands of head.
We're a small operation.
Small operation. But in addition, we lease out acreage, and also on the ranch, there's quite a bit of wildlife. We have the perimeter of the ranch is high fenced, game fenced, some people call it. And that's so what we have in terms of wildlife stays in, and we will manage and develop our herds that way. It's called
the Texas Hill Country, sorry. And so that area of Texas is regionally known, and people enjoy it. It has a lot of relief. It's close to Austin and San Antonio, between those two cities. So it has some, you can enjoy city aspects but still be in the country. And so it was, we have some of the highest elevations in our area, so the views are fantastic, and and the drives are nice. You can go up and down, and hiking is good as a result, and so forth. It's really pretty. We think it's really pretty. And historically, the area was under the seabed at one point, so we find a lot of marine fossils. It was a Native American sites. There are several middens and Indian mounds on the property. We've not excavated them, but we find relics. That area was populated by German immigrants, and so we have several old homesteads on the property. So there's some interesting aspects about it from the region and from the history, I think. What do you think, honey?
Yeah, no, it's called the Texas Hill Country. We, like as Cindy said, we have some of the highest peaks in Kerr County, and which is the heart of Texas Hill Country. But I remember our first visit there to visit our friends. I turned to Cindy and said, "This is the sorriest country I've ever seen because it's so rocky you can't grow anything." I grew up in southeast Oklahoma where you could actually grow crops. The land is really rocky.
It's a different kind of beauty, but it's not for a serious farm.
It is a different kind of beauty, and it also limits like how many livestock you can run on it, because the grazable acreage is not 850 acres; it's some number less than that. Well, we want a unique identity, and we want, as you know, I was looking at different things when we were coming up here. You pass a lot of ranches on the drive from that 9-hour drive from our house to here. We came to back roads rather than the freeway, and you know the brand. When you see that, it evokes or connotes an image. And what we want is when someone sees it, High Seas Ranch is rather long, and
yes, pretty long.
we want something that's an abbreviated way of giving you a unique identity, because it is a commercial enterprise that people can identify the ranch with.
So I think we want it for commercial reasons, but also for personal reasons. I mean, we want it to be interesting. We want it to be, when people look at it and say, "Oh, that's a cool logo," and we want the swag to look good. But we also want it to be identifiable for us commercially with in particular the Longhorn business.
Right. But if you look, just look around the room, you see the coaster there with SNB, and you'll see the Spear School of Business, all the logos. The foundation has the wreath. You want an image, because you got to have swag. You got to have T-shirts. You got to have hats. You got to have keychains. You got to have all that stuff. We would like for it to have a wow factor, and we would like for it to be stylish. We don't want it to be cartoonish. We don't want it to be a caricature. We want it to be. People think that's cool. Have a bit of a wow factor rather than looking at something. It'd be nice to be stylistic, a bit abstract, creative, but if it doesn't communicate that it is the ranch named High Seas, then it's probably difficult to associate, particularly since one of the things we want to come out of it, we want to have some kind of derivation. It doesn't have to be the total brand, but a part of it has to be for the cattle. You're certainly not going to brand High Seas Ranch on the side, or you're going to burn the poor animal to death. So you need a condensed extract, if not a part of the thing, for identification of your livestock as well.
We struggled with whether actually the name is actually in the brand itself, or it's a logo like a swoosh or something, like a Nike swoosh that says Nike below it, as opposed to it's in the name. So I mean, either way, we're open to either way. But we've toyed around with some where you actually say High Seas Ranch on, or even just High Seas and Ranch below, or an image that looks like ranching, but then you just write the name below it. So we're open.
Well, we don't want it to be garish, but honestly, like most branding things, unlike the school and the brighter shade of orange, the colors will vary from whatever you might emblazon the logo on. So we're certainly not going for a neon look, but the colors don't really matter so much as just being the image. We're looking for the image, and the colors can come later.
And we would probably, if we were having to describe a color, we'd probably say keep it sort of neutral, but we wouldn't be opposed to taking that image and putting it brightly on some kind of background at some point either, but it wouldn't have its own color. I think we don't have a ranch color that we're adopting as our theme.
Well, we certainly hats, shirts, are common things. We've been seeing gimme hats from truckers for our whole lives, but that kind of thing, again, an extract for the branding for the animals, but we don't have a predominant front gate for the ranch yet. There will be an entranceway, and we would like to have that to be a large marking on the entranceway, certainly on the website that you talked about, but we also have some barns or outbuildings that are visible from different places on our property, and we probably would
painting it on the side of the barn like that.
Yeah, we have it emblazoned on the side to kind of dress up the otherwise rather drab outbuilding.
But again, there can be multiple versions of this, from a tiny little extract of it that's a brand to something with all the words on it, to something that just has some of the words, depending on what it's for. But also we would use it in marketing for if you go to the cattle sales or auctions or whatever. In the Longhorn business, a lot of that's charity work and so forth, and so you're putting your name out there, and we would use it in marketing as well.
Well, I think images of the ranch is important. What we really need from the website, it'll have a communication more on a personal basis in some aspects, but it'll also be used on a commercial basis. And we need to have the flexibility. Neither Cindy or I are web geniuses by any stretch of the imagination. So we need something that's flexible, attention-getting, but at the same time, not overly complicated. We'll have images. We want to have images of the ranch, not only of the fixtures and buildings on the ranch, but also the animals on the ranch.
I can see us having a section for things that are coming off the wildlife cameras, and there's a lake there with fishing, and I can see some sections of it being the recreation side of the ranch and the wildlife side of the ranch, and then also the business side. So we would be posting our animals and their lineage and their offspring and so forth. Well, we haven't mentioned we have sheep, and there is a llama. His name is Dolly Llama. That's not a big business, but we do have a small herd of sheep. But as far as this program, we've thought we think it should be fun. We think it should be interactive, because you want to end up with a product. So, like if you were dealing with a client, you wouldn't just be incommunicative, and then suddenly at the end, expect that to be presenting something they might like. So if anyone wants to be in contact with us, I think we're open to that.
We are.
Unless the club thinks that's inappropriate in some way, but
yeah, I think it's important that the students realize this is a real world example here. There's going to be a big exposure on this thing one way or the other, and we don't think in any real world situation the client gives the task over to the vendor or the marketer and then goes away and doesn't see it again until presentation. To me, it's going to have to be interactive, but there is nothing forbidden, there's nothing sacrosanct, except it's going to be High Seas Ranch, and that's what we want branded. We don't want to change all that, but there are no limitations other than that, other than practicality and use going forward. But we're available. We'll provide the email address. We can have text. We can also do, if there's more than one, obviously you don't want to Skype with everyone, but at some point in time, if there's a group of people who want to get together and do some kind of interaction or exchange, that's fine with us as well.
I would make one other comment that even though we're promoting the Longhorn business, any logo that we have, it's be interesting for us, we think, for it to have some sort of connotation of horn shape and so forth, but we don't want it to look like a Bevo. We're not marketing Bevo. So, even
though she is a UT grad.
Well, I'm the duller shade of orange, but still, it has nothing to do with UT, with the university. It has to do with actually just the ranch business.